Hello, hi, this is Jeffery Kin, Executive Director of Sarasota Rising and the Living Arts Festival with Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. And there's not one person I can think of that is a masterpiece at what she does than Elizabeth Doud of the Historic Asolo Theater, aka the Cool People. What do the cool people call it?
The Hat.
The Hat. Hi, how are you?
Great, thank you. Nice to be here.
We should be wearing hats. I didn't think about that.
I know. Look at this missed opportunity.
We could have dressed so help explain, speaking of the hat, because actually back in the day, it was just the behind the scenes people that always said, oh, I'm working with the hat, I'm going to the hat. And then how did that kind of evolve, the nickname that is the real name or vice versa?
Well, it's an acronym for the Historic Asolo Theater. And many people in the community conflate the Historic Asolo Theater with the Asolo Repertory Theater. They are related. They're kind of kissing cousins. The Asolo Repertory Theater got its start on the stages of the Historic Asolo Theater. And really, the Historic Asolo Theater is a venue. It's also an integral part of the Ringling's permanent collection as an historic theater and an art object itself. And then the Asolo Repertory Theater is an organization. It's a producing theater entity. And they do amazing, unparalleled work in the community, but are very different from what we do. So in a way, it was also a little bit of a way to distinguish between the two and not confuse the organizations or the places. And it really is an affectionate way to talk about the theater. We use hat as a shorthand and internally in the museum to talk about the space. We also industry people say the hat when they're talking about coming to work, like all of our IATSE, crew members and everything.
That's how I started hearing about it, was be like, hey, we're going to go, Jeff, who was it? The first person I heard it from, Jeff Dillon, I think, was like, oh yeah, I got to get the hat. I'm like, what's the,
I know. Yeah.
Historic Asolo Theater.
So I mean, we find it to be very fun. And of course we have a little logo now, which is a top hat, and it says hat on it. And it's something that kind of, it's evocative also symbolically of getting dressed up, of kind of being out on the town. As a circus organization, the Ringling is fundamentally a circus organization because of its roots in circus culture and of John Ringling. And it's also kind of, has that, ringmaster, symbolism. So anyways, there's a lot.
Tip in the hat kind of thing too.
Oh, listen, we can, like the idiomatic expressions, we've gone in on that, on everything. Like we're talking about, throw your hat in the ring.
Oh, throwing your hat into the ring?
Hats off.
Gosh, see, I missed the boat. I should have had all these written down already, but it's better hearing from you.
It's a lot of fun. So there really is endless fun in it. And it feels, I think that the two things are used interchangeably. Of course, we honor the original name of the theater and are very are really privileged to kind of be the stewards of this space.
What a beautiful space. I mean, goodness, all the listeners and anyone watching, if you want to see a gorgeous theater, and I've been so fortunate to have been on that stage several times and to look out at that incredible view, a beautiful audience. I mean, just, it's so well done. And I'm sure people mistake it again because the Asolo Theater and the Historic Asolo but you're actually on the grounds, like you're inside the gates of the Ringling, compound? Is that what you would call it?
That is correct. It is actually on campus inside the Ringling Museum. So once you go through that gatehouse and you go into the main visitors pavilion where you would enter the museum if you were just coming to see the galleries and the grounds, if you go immediately to your right, we're right next to what is our glass gallery, and that's where our theater is. So,
which is gorgeous as well. You're surrounded by art wherever you go. I mean, it really is just a gorgeous. And so, what is your official title? Before we get further, I want to know what your official title is, Elizabeth Doud.
I am the Currie-Kohlmann Curator of Performance.
Oh my
And
gosh, I'm so glad I asked because
yeah,
I never would have came up with that. Okay.
yeah, and it's actually a formal title that is related to the endowment that was created to fund the position that I occupy, and it is named in honor of my predecessor, who was Dwight Currie, and Michael Coleman, who was also the performance producer that worked steadfastly with other theater professionals inside the museum staff to really set up the program where the theater is now. And really, the theater itself is an historic theater, but everything from the proscenium back is a modern working theater. So it was kind of a with the restoration of the theater itself as an art object, it was also making sure that the infrastructure connected with the seating area could be functional. And that was really, and the Shank Family Foundation is responsible for that, what I feel like is a visionary investment and endowment in making sure that this position and the ability for somebody to be in charge of programming in perpetuity is in place. It really was
Wow.
an
I bet you
extraordinary gift.
that does not happen for many organizations where someone has that belief in the space and then realizes that the space is nothing without the people behind it, and the people making the decisions and doing the work, which oh my goodness, some of the things I've seen there and are incredible. And I know you have a cool season coming up that I can't wait to talk about because you have, there's so many interesting things. But can you give me just what's a cute little background bio of you? Like where did you come from? How are we so fortunate that you're here working with us on our cultural coast?
Well, I quickie bio is that
Okay.
I was actually born in the Pacific Northwest. I'm from Seattle, Washington originally,
Okay.
but launched into an international sphere pretty young, studying and living abroad because of just academic interests and family. And in 1996, I moved to Florida. I was based in Miami for 25 years and worked extensively with international cultural exchange. So I've had a real like deep engagement with linguistics, international theater production, and doing extensive work with Latin America and the Caribbean. And in doing that based mostly in South Florida. And I did my PhD in performing arts, and I was actually looking for teaching jobs. And I ran across this job listing because I studied to in the performing arts field in terms of my postgraduate work, and was really interesting in teaching in an institution that had a performing arts program and performance studies related in terms of my interests in teaching. And I ran across this and I was like, oh, what? I was like, FSU, what? Sarasota? And then I said, oh, of course, because I used to come up to Sarasota for the Ringling International Arts Festival for
Right.
REOF.
Right.
Because living in South Florida and Miami, which has, a lot of performing arts offerings, I was like, Mark Morris is in Sarasota. I was like, what? What is going on up there? And then I discovered that there was this incredible top-notch contemporary performing arts program happening in this container of this festival. And so anyways, it all kind of fell into place. And I advanced with curiosity. This isn't a teaching job. It's actually arts production, presenting, programming, facilitating live arts experiences for audiences. And so I was like, I think I can do that. Like it's what I've done for many years and what I love to do. And anyways, it just fell into place, and I'm really happy.
You had to have started when you were like 5 years old. Number one, you spent 25 years in Miami. Seriously, I'm going to ask for your beauty regimen when we're off camera because
all
you
I
look
gotta tell you, it's like
amazing. So
dance has its cryogenic
Oh
properties.
yeah, that's true. Right. A
Oh,
body in motion stays in motion is what they
that's
say,
right.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
So your specific part of the Historic Asolo Theater started with the Ringling Fine Arts Festival. That was 2009, right? I think somewhere around there. And then it ran for about 5 years. And then I remember Dwight Currie just doing a bang up job of really trying to introduce new and interesting and getting that international feel. And I love the fact that, when I came and when I've been to the facility, I've seen such avant-garde and cool works, and I know you have some really interesting things coming up, and I jotted a few down, and I don't know how to pronounce any of them, but you do something. I got to tell you, Le Cirque Kikasa sounds incredible. How close am I?
Le Cirque Kikas. Kikas is what they say.
Kikasa.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was close.
You are close, yes.
That's just one of those things that just looks amazing. So maybe before we get into that, can you talk about your process and how do you discover these international talents that you would like to bring? How does that all start? I mean, do you get to travel and do amazing things like that, I hope?
Yeah, travel is a significant part of the curatorial research. Many of the individuals that are programmed in the season are people with whom I've had multi-year relationships. So we've met at a festival. I've seen their work at another venue in the United States, perhaps if we're talking about a global artist. I have deep interest in multi-year relationships with artists. So perhaps we're bringing an artist back that we've presented before with a different show. In the case of Rafael Ramirez, who's the flamenco dance artist that will be coming in November, we've presented Rafael's work before and talk about an extraordinary choreographic talent, showing, I think, some of the best in contemporary flamenco work right now as a dance artist. Many of the works that we have this season are solos or very, or kind of what I call unipersonal works that are, performed by the author in really extraordinary ways. And all of the artists, I think, really aren't household names they're unknowns to the Sarasota market. Even Rafael Ramirez, like he's just not somebody that you're going to be thinking about on the daily. But many people are like, "Oh, I remember I saw that great thing."
Right. And don't they sometimes teach master classes? And I mean, when you have a relationship with them, you really work with them. They're almost like, a part of your organization for a period of time. I don't know what you would call that. There's probably a term for.
I mean, I don't think it would be formal. I mean, sometimes we talk about it as a performance residency when they're coming in and spending a week, right? Right? So, for example, with Bijoyni Satpathy, who is the first artist in our lineup who is going to be doing her performance as part of our opening night, which is on October 18th. She is going to be giving a masterclass in Odissi dance, which is a classical Indian form. And she is very well known for her dance conditioning work and gives, it's going to be a profoundly important hour of dance for students that want to come and learn about the form. And she is a master artist, right? So she's in the community. She'll be doing on our opening night, which is really the opening for our season and a celebration of the theater and the full lineup of artists. She will be having the performance and then a post-performance reception. And then she will be able to come out and give some remarks and speak with the audience and talk a little bit about her process, her knowledge. And the work that she's performing actually was developed at the Met in New York. So she is really interested in what it means to create performance within museum spaces, galleries, and other public spaces like that. So there's a nice little conversation between how this work was made and how it's being presented here in Sarasota. But really, and I've known Bijoyni for 20 years because I've been following her career. She's, and it like an advanced artist, right? Now she's a master artist in her form. And I never would have known when I first met her that we would continue to have this relationship, but I couldn't be more
sometimes you
delighted.
click, right? Sometimes there's just there's a symbiosis that happens, and and with artists especially, don't you find that you'll be talking to them and you're literally, and I know you're multilingual, I can tell, but you can literally, you start speaking someone's language, like you get that person, and isn't that a great feeling to have when you can have that communication?
I mean, anybody that knows me, I've joked often. I said, I'm going to have on my gravestone, it's going to say, quote, "Oh my God, there's this artist I have to tell you about," end quote. Because that's how I start most of my conversations. Wait, I got to tell you about this guy. But and I mean, I love the people that we're working with this season, and that we work with every season. And some of them I actually don't have that long a relationship or a friendship necessarily, but I think that there's something about building trust, and for an artist to not just show up and be like, okay, whatever happens. It's knowing that the work is going to be held in a certain way, that we're going to be curious enough to find out about how to contextualize it, and make it really accessible for audiences, especially when we're really asking audiences to take a risk on the unknown. So you said, yeah, this isn't, we're not doing a Shakespeare play necessarily. That would be a familiar kind of easy entry point, nor are we, we're not working with, a Denzel Washington as the leading man in Othello, right? Which would be great. I wish we could.
Of course.
I really wish we could do that. Wait, just kidding.
Right.
But so that would be something where everybody would just be so easy, right, to place oneself in that experience. But, saying, we want you to come into the theater. We want you to buy a ticket. We want to make plans and give of your time. Turn off your cell phone for an hour, right? Which is a radical move, of course.
Yeah, put the TV away. Yeah, seriously.
And just kind of lend yourself to this experience and this collective experience of witnessing live poetics, for lack of a better descriptor. And it's really, it's intimacy, it's a silence, it's, curious. It's kind of like, what's happening now? What's going to happen? You're being taken on this ride. So, I just think there's this kind of leap of faith and this beautiful trust when we go to the theater, to all theater. And I hope that, and so I have deep appreciation for audiences who trust us with that, and then also getting artists to trust us and just let them know that we care deeply about the work, and we're going to make sure that everybody has a nice time and that you feel safe, and that we're teching you right. We're going to listen to you along the way. And so it often takes, I can't tell you how many emails go back and forth and how many conversations we have about the most mundane, weird stuff about light bulbs and wires and tape, and then and do you need, how many bags are you bringing and how much do they weigh?
People have no idea what happens behind the scenes like that, and the drama.
I know.
Oh my God, they knew. Sometimes it's cool and fun, but then sometimes you're like, oh, really? Seriously? For people to get more information, the best way for them to go online and find out more about the hat, is that from the ringling.org website, right?
Correct. That is correct. Yes. Ringling.org is our website, and on the landing page, you just look for performance and it'll take you to our season subscription pages, and then you can, individual tickets are on sale now. So if you just want to check out one show and not do the whole season, that's great. And even if for our season subscriptions, it's a minimum of 4 to get the subscription discount. We really pride ourselves in keeping our ticket prices low. I think the quality of work we're bringing, it's one of the best values in town, honestly. And I think it's really a nice complement to other things that are happening in the city too. And I know people are equally involved with the Oslo Rep, or they have opera subscriptions, or they're just, they're really enjoying all of the bounty of performance that's available. I mean, come on, how lucky are we?
Yeah, well,
It's so good.
they call us the cultural coast for a reason,
What?
and
Yeah, I know.
and there's room for everybody. Literally, when I was producing stuff and I would do the 80th version of Fiddler on the Roof, the houses were full. People love to see that. So you've got to be able to share with them what they're familiar with and what they love and what they know. But then also sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone and experience something amazing. So your next season, I know I checked it out and it looks very exciting. Is there a couple of things that excite you the most? Is there something
Well,
that you're like, whoa?
okay. I have to talk about two things. So I already talked about
Okay.
our fall dance shows, which I think if you
Yes.
love dance, come see all of this because it's transformative.
Wow.
And
Great word, by the way.
in the spring, oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff. Okay. Counterpoint by Caleb Tasher and Conrad Tao is a piano and tap duet that cannot be missed for anything in the world. I highly recommend that. It's Caleb Tasher is a swing dancer and also a tap artist, and it's a conversation between him and Conrad Tao, who is a solo pianist, a recitalist, and each of these individuals have like very prominent solo careers, and they've come together for this project, playing from this really beautiful songbook that's pretty familiar. Bach, Gershwin, a great selection of music, and it's them playing these songs and working together in conversation. It's a delightful show. It's intimate. It's about friendship. It's just sublime. It is really, I think, going to be unforgettable, and it will look great on our stage. So that's one thing. And then the second thing, oh my God, do I have to choose just like two? Okay, wait. So there's Ahama Luo's The Things Around Us, which is a solo piece. It's storytelling, trumpet, and clarinet, not to be missed. It's probably the most kind of, I think it's what I would call new performance, multidisciplinary. Don't miss it. We're going to do a 5-show run. And then Jake Blunt, who's a fiddler, who's doing American string music, and I mean, touched by the divine in so many ways. Like all of these people are just bringing it, and I mean, the music is going to be sensational. The dance is so good. Again, we're talking about solos, duets, like very. The scale is intimate, and really for our stage, it's just such a great experience. And right? Like I think for artists, they feel like the audience is right there, and the
Right
audience is
there.
like, we're
Oh,
right
yeah.
here with art. So
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty cool.
I got to tell you, for those watching, you got to see Elizabeth just light up. You started glowing about 3 minutes ago. You were like, oh my gosh, it was the cutest thing ever. Well, how do you stay motivated? How do you deal with detractors and the people that are like, oh, the arts, who cares? I mean, how do you navigate today's world? How do you keep excited? How do you stay focused?
I think right now what I'm focused on is that the arts artists are always going to make work. If the funding gets cut, if the presenting models shift, and the ways that we sell tickets to theaters or program seasons is no longer viable, all of that can adjust. And I think that what keeps me motivated is every time I go see a show and I'm sitting in the theater, and it's the theater is my church, right? Like I can go and sit down and I'm in. I feel like I am in conversation with. I'm in a community. I feel like I am in community. It's a collective experience, so I'm not there alone, and that's important to me. And I also feel like I am watching beauty being channeled, from the forces beyond, right? The concrete in so many ways. And I'm like, this can't be wrong. Artists are soothsayers. They are fortune tellers. They're futurists, right? They lead the way for how we're going to navigate the world. I don't want to go and have anybody, lecture me, right, in a theater, right? Like that kind of performance, I think, is less interesting. But, I think artists are really uniquely positioned to navigate complexity. Any good show. I was so funny because I was reading something in the news today and I was like, whoa, Shakespearean, right? Like I've mentioned Shakespeare twice already, right? Right. Because look at how enduring that the dramaturgy is, right? The way that story can carry us, in the toughest of times. So I just feel that artists keep me going. And in terms of the work, I kind of think I have the best job in the world.
I think you do
I don't
too.
know. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I think you do. And I think you need an assistant. And his name is Jeffrey, and he needs to travel, mostly Europe, if possible, looking for new things for you.
Look, I know. It's like, what's the, yeah,
It is fantastic. And of course, there's all these things about when you're in an audience. And, I, as a presenter and as a writer, and I love to watch the audience watch the performance. That's super exciting. And you can see exactly how they are. And then what people don't realize is they all start breathing the same. Their heartbeats start to go like that audience becomes a living, breathing, heart beating, brain exploding entity. It becomes it's fascinating. It's fascinating to watch that. What a treat it is to do what we do,
Yeah, it really is a true privilege. I think, and we're the State Art Museum of Florida. We're a public institution, so it also feels really important to have that responsibility to make sure that there's full access, that we're keeping tickets affordable, that we're making good use of the resources of the museum, and that as many people as possible can come. We're doing a great student matinee with Rafael Ramirez's show, so schools can come, and we're programming it at 11 a.m. so students can come in and watch a show that they probably never would see. Of course, this is free for schools, and so all of those little pieces about just trying to be a good steward of the resources in the space, so there's a lot of really logical entry points so that everybody feels invited into the work.
And we know being able to introduce kids to any sort of art, it starts to help them understand, wow, I think this way, or I visually saw that, or I completely understand that. Or, one of my amazing board members saw a production. The school went to see The Elephant Man on Broadway. A school. He was in the first grade, Elephant Man. So if this is a play, guys, about a gentleman who's deformed, and it's heavy.
It's a heartbreaker, yeah.
It led him to a life of, yes, he works hard, and yes, he had businesses, but the arts has remained an important part of his life to this day. And he says it's because of that first initiation into seeing live theater that it became part of his bones. It's part of how he thinks and feels. I love that. And look at you doing that, throughout the year. When does your season stop and start? So we have our first thing happening you have things happening in September too, don't you?
We're doing a wonderful classical music presentation on the 25th of September with the FSU School of Music. Really, really incredible work. And so we're going to be hosting them for one night only. That's September 25th. And then we have our opening night of the Art of Performance series on October 18th. And then we go all the way through the end. Oh, actually May 8th with our Micro Whip program, which is our Micro Works in Progress program, which is our open call is happening right now. And we do a selection of up to 4 works by 10 minutes max works by local performance makers in Sarasota and Manatee. So it's very local. And then we have one night where all 4 of those works are shown in the hat. And we really celebrate local performance makers. And it's a great night. And we've already kicked off our contemporary movement series with an artist in residence this year, whose name is LaMichael Leonard, who's a choreographer dancer.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw LaMichael.
Yeah. Oh, and it's so good. Yeah. So really, really nice dance class. It's every Monday, and then the residency activities. So kind of behind the scenes, we also host artists in residence where they're not doing main stage performances, but they've come here to do. We just had Dalak Braithwaite here, who was doing playwriting for about a week, just in our space, working on a new play that we hope to present in the following season. LaMichael that is here, he's developing a new work we'll do a work in progress showing of that new work in the spring.
Look at you. This is What a great visit. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank
I'm
you,
so
Jeffrey.
happy that to give you this time to share and to just express the joy that is behind what you get to do there at the Historic Asolo Theater.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And, we need to come back around and talk again, maybe in the spring. How's that? Can we do that?
Sure. This is what I'll do this all day.
And I want a complete change of posters in the background by that time.
Okay. All right. We'll have more.
I love your posters. Okay. Hey, thanks all.
Okay.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. This has been Jeffery Kin, part of the incredible Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Jeffery Kin as a part of Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. We love listening to our arts practitioners, and we want you to listen as well. So make sure you join us at sarasotapodcast.com, and we'll see you at the next interview.